While Voldemort, ethics aside, had one of the greatest minds the wizarding world had ever seen, he also had many flaws. He was arrogant, short-sighted, and unreasonably obsessed with the pursuit of immortality. But one thing he wasn't was someone who would shy away from murdering those who got in his way. He murdered Burbage mid-meal, ordered the murder of Cedric Diggory for standing in the wrong place at the wrong time, and ordered countless other deaths without hesitation. And even when his closest followers failed him, even slightly, he was quick to dispose of them and simply move on. Just look at what happened to Wormtail, strangled by his own silver hand for showing a moment of mercy. Or Severus Snape, killed not for betrayal, but simply because Voldemort believed it would grant him mastery of the Elder Wand. But with all of this in mind, there's one person Voldemort left alive that I still can't make sense of: Horace Slughorn. Today we're going to be discussing why Voldemort, more trigger-happy than perhaps anyone else, made the unusual decision to leave Slughorn alive. Was it calculated, merciful, or something else entirely? Let's dive into it. Hey everyone, welcome to another installment of Harry Potter Theory. To kick things off, I'd like to establish why Slughorn was significant at all. While a professor at Hogwarts, Slughorn had a habit of surrounding himself with the brightest and most promising students, not just to mentor them, but to collect them, building a network of rising stars who might one day return the favour. As he once bragged, Gwennick Jones, captain of the Holyhead Harpies, free tickets whenever I want them. And as I'm sure you already know, Slughorn taught at Hogwarts during the time that a young Tom Riddle first set foot in the school, and one of the first things he noticed, Riddle's brilliance. So, true to form, Slughorn did what he always did with promising students. He welcomed him into the Slug Club. And while inviting such a brilliant student into the club may have seemed like an obvious choice, it was also a terrible mistake, because Riddle had different kinds of ambitions than Slughorn was used to. And eventually, Riddle cornered Slughorn with a series of chilling questions. What are Horcruxes, how are they made, and can you make more than one? And while Slughorn hesitated, knowing the questions were dangerous, he gave him enough. He warned Riddle that splitting the soul was an act against nature, something that should never be done. But he didn't outright refuse to answer. And at that stage, it was all Tom needed. And while Slughorn didn't give him the idea to create Horcruxes, he did something just as bad. He confirmed it. He made it real. And Voldemort never forgot that. And decades later, after Tom had become Voldemort, he sent Death Eaters to recruit Slughorn, not eliminate him. But even though Slughorn avoided him and rejected his invitations, he remained untouched after Voldemort seized Hogwarts and placed Death Eaters on staff. The same man that knew all about his Horcruxes, his big secret tethering him to life. So, what was so special about Horace Slughorn? The obvious direction to go here is that Voldemort saw value in Slughorn. But if that's the case, what was it specifically that Voldemort felt was valuable? Yes, Slughorn was a powerful wizard in his own right, and having him as an ally certainly couldn't have hurt. But I don't think he could have offered Voldemort anything he didn't already have or have access to. Slughorn's greatest offering would have been his mastery over potions, but by the time Voldemort returned, he already had Severus Snape, a far more loyal potions master that was just as capable. So really, there was nothing special about Slughorn from a practicality standpoint that could have encouraged Voldemort to keep him around. Which tells me it must have been an emotional decision, a glimmer of humanity, sentimentality, or perhaps even respect towards Slughorn in an otherwise deeply sociopathic mind. Slughorn wasn't just spared because he was useful, and he wasn't spared because he was harmless. He was spared, in part, because he was familiar. Slughorn had been head of Slytherin House during Tom Riddle's time at Hogwarts, rendering him effectively the closest thing Tom had to a father figure. But most importantly, Slughorn was the first adult in Tom Riddle's life to truly see him, to recognize his brilliance, to welcome him into the prestigious Slug Club, and to treat him not just as a student, but as someone destined for greatness. While Dumbledore viewed Tom with suspicion, Slughorn saw promise and even pride. He treated him like someone special because he believed he was. And though Voldemort was certainly incapable of love, he was not immune to admiration. He valued power, yes, but he also valued being seen as powerful. Slughorn didn't just fear Tom Riddle, he respected him. And that early validation, it lingered. It helped forge the mythos Voldemort later wrapped himself in. And even years later, he remembered him. But instead of sending his Death Eaters to kill him, he tried to recruit him. Therefore, on some level, he must have still viewed Slughorn as a potential ally, not a liability. There's also the blood angle. Slughorn came from an old, pure-blood family, one of the Sacred 28. He was respected, well-connected, a social figure in the upper crust of wizarding society. And beyond bloodlines, he was a fellow Slytherin. Snape is the only confirmed Slytherin Voldemort murders directly, and even then, he claims to regret it, though we know he doesn't. Others, like the Malfoys, survive their failures. Even Draco, who actively defies him. So the pattern here is that Voldemort is willing to use Slytherins, manipulate them, intimidate them, but will rarely eliminate them, unless they become a direct obstacle. And as long as Slughorn kept his secrets buried, he wasn't one. But taking all of that into account, I suspect the real reason Voldemort never killed Slughorn is the same reason he failed in so many other ways: his arrogance. From the outside perspective, Slughorn is clearly the ultimate threat to Voldemort's regime and pursuit of immortality. And from Voldemort's own perspective, Slughorn, and Slughorn alone, was the only man who knew about his Horcruxes. The only one who had ever been told, even in part, what he had done. And this just makes Voldemort's decision to leave him alive even more baffling. Voldemort built most of his life around the idea of escaping death. He tore his soul into fragments, performed horrific rituals, and committed countless murders, all in the name of becoming truly immortal. And yet, he left the one person who could expose it all alive. Slughorn was the living thread that, if pulled, could unravel the entire tapestry. And basically, he didn't kill Slughorn because he didn't think he needed to. Voldemort didn't see Slughorn as a threat. Not really. In his eyes, Slughorn was cowardly, vain, and most importantly, afraid. The kind of man who would bury the truth rather than confront it. And to some extent, Voldemort was right. Slughorn did try to erase the memory. He did run and hide. He didn't speak up. And Voldemort, blinded by his own ego, assumed that would always be the case. Even when Harry began destroying Horcruxes, Voldemort was stunned. He couldn't comprehend how anyone could have uncovered his secret, let alone how they knew exactly how many Horcruxes to look for. And he certainly never suspected that a single memory, buried in the mind of a nervous old potions master, was the key to unraveling it all. Because in Voldemort's mind, fear was more powerful than truth. And Slughorn, as far as he was concerned, was ruled by fear. On the whole, this speaks volumes about Voldemort's hubris, that he could be so obsessed with guarding his greatest secret, and yet so confident in his own power that he believed no one, not even a man who had literally handed him the blueprint, could ever stop him. So, for all or some of these reasons, Voldemort kept Slughorn alive. What do you guys think? Did this ever cross your minds? Let me know down in the comment section below. Until next time, remember, it does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live.